Well, I have our next speaker who is ready in the wings to speak with us. His name is John, and John is the lead consultant at Evlos Consulting. Now, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. He's an emotional intelligence expert, helping individuals, families, and organisations maximise their potential and reach their peak with leveraging the power of emotional intelligence. So let me say that again. So he uses emotional intelligence to allow people to reach their performance peaks. He does this through corporate training, courses, speaking at seminars and conferences, personal coaching and writing. His talk is, of course, leveraging emotional intelligence. Hi, John.
Hello. It's such a privilege to be with you today. I count it an opportunity to be one of the guest speakers at the Business and Life Balance Summit. And today, I'm going to be discussing how to leverage emotional intelligence for relationships. My name is John Asiegbu. I am a leading emotional intelligence expert here in Africa. I help individuals, families, and organizations to leverage the power of emotional intelligence to maximize potential and fulfill purpose. I am sure you are conversant with the complexities of the world today, from the economic crisis to the pandemic situation that is ravaging the world, to the insecurity problems all over the place. If there is any time that we needed connection, it is now. More than ever, we need one another now. If our relationships are going to thrive, then we're going to need to connect. Be it a family relationship or work relationship. This is the time to connect even better. Especially in a working environment where people come from different places, from different cultures, and they have to work together. And also in the home environment where everyone is going through different things. Yet they have to be together and connect. The solution to this is emotional intelligence. If you've never heard about this concept before, I would like to introduce you to emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not just a soft skill. It is not just a hard skill. It is not just a life skill. It is life itself. Are you surprised? You see, there is no human interaction that doesn't involve emotional exchange. Whenever any two people or more gather, whatever they gather for, be it a project or a meeting, there is always emotional exchange. In fact, there won't be relationships without emotions. That is how important emotions are in our lives. So this subject that we are discussing is very timely, because if we're going to grow our relationships and if we're going to be productive with our different relationships, then we must learn emotional intelligence. And in this session, within the time that I have, I would quickly give you as much as I can to help you leverage emotional intelligence to grow your relationship, to build connection. So let's dive right in. The first thing I want to talk about is we need to be able to identify the emotions that we're experiencing. You see, the truth is you cannot solve a problem that you've not understood. So many times we are not conscious of our emotions. In fact, some people ignore their feelings while some others try to suppress it. That is never the way to go. It is important that we're able to identify our feelings per time. Am I sad? Am I angry? Am I depressed? Am I hungry? Am I frustrated? What am I experiencing? This is a question that we must ask ourselves every now and again. The first step to emotional intelligence is self-awareness, which includes being able to know what you are feeling per time. So what I want to say to you right now is, going forward, you need to be conscious of your feelings. You see, the truth is this. If you don't feel good, you won't relate properly with the other person. So you need to feel good first so that you can transfer that energy to the people around you. Because there's a popular saying that you cannot give what you don't have. So the first step to building connection, leveraging emotional intelligence, is being aware of our emotions. Sometimes you may need to document what you're feeling down so that you'll be able to identify your feelings per time. Now, after you've done this, the next thing we need to do is to study our behavioral tendencies. What are your behavioral tendencies? Are you easily irritated or disgusted? Are you easily angry? You need to know. After identifying the emotions that you feel, the next step is to know what are your own typical tendencies. Are you most likely to be the first person to get upset in the room? You should know that about yourself. You should think about knowing about ourselves is not for us to judge ourselves. It's so that we can be aware and then work out ways to manage our emotions. By the way, let me pause and define emotional intelligence for you. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, acknowledge, and manage your emotions and that of others productively for the purpose of growth. So you see that it starts with being able to identify and then accepting that that emotion exists or that you're experiencing that emotion. Then can you move further to managing or solving it? So it is important for us to be conversant with our tendencies and not try to pretend that they are not there. The next thing we need to learn to do is to be able to identify our triggers. What triggers you? What gets to your skin? What provokes you? What makes you sad? It is important for you to identify this. How can you get this done? You can get this done by observing yourself, being conscious of your behavior over time. Then you'll be able to identify that, oh, when this happens, I get angry, or when this happens, I get sad. A typical example in the work environment is some people, for instance, don't like being micromanaged. So some people enjoy being micromanaged. They want to be told what to do. Some other people, they don't want to be told what to do all the time. They just want you to give them the task and allow them to do it. So for some people in the workspace, being micromanaged is a trigger for them. It gets them uneasy. It gets them angry. I just gave that as an example. You as an individual, you need to be able to identify your triggers for especially unfriendly emotions. Because if you are able to do this, then you've taken another step further to being able to leverage emotional intelligence in a relationship. Because the truth is, when you know your triggers, then you will know how to manage them so that it doesn't negatively affect you or the people around you. This is very important because many people behave irrationally before they even know it. If only they have understood what causes them to behave that way, then they can work out ways to, avert such from happening the next time. Which then takes us to the next step, which is developing coping mechanism. Having identified your triggers, what steps are you going to take to make sure that those triggers are mitigated such that they don't affect your life and they don't affect your relationship? One of the things you can do is journaling. Writing is a powerful tool for helping us to relieve stress. So when you feel anger or you feel sad or you feel depressed, one thing you can do is to write. Write your feelings down, pen it down. In fact, there is a belief that when you write, especially when you do that with pen and paper, there's a flow of energy from your hand into the pen to the ink and then to the paper. And you will realize that after writing how you feel less tense. Another thing you can do is exercising. You can go to the gym, you can take walks, you can jog. When we exercise, the body releases hormones that helps our body relax. So when you're experiencing any unfriendly emotion, you can go exercising, go jogging, go taking a walk. And when you do this, you'll realize that you feel much better. Another thing you can do is to talk to someone about it, someone who is reliable and trustworthy. Talk to someone about how you're feeling. When we share how we feel, it helps us to feel better. These are some coping mechanisms that you can use to manage unfriendly emotions. And when you do this, then you'll be able to be in control of your reaction. Because the issue is, if we're not able to control our reactions to these emotions, then we behave in certain ways that may hurt our relationship. There's nothing wrong with being angry. The issue is usually, what do you do with that anger? There's really nothing wrong with being sad. In fact, emotions are simply our bodies telling us what is happening in and around us. And what we need to do is to take that information and make productive use of it, not necessarily allowing that information to dictate our behavior. So this is very, very, very important. Also, if we're going to build productive relationships in this time, then one thing we must learn is the ability to listen. Listening sounds very simple and very mundane, but it is very, very, very important. The biggest barrier to communication is the inability to listen. In fact, sometimes I tell people that there's a difference between having a conversation and having a communication. Because in a conversation, both parties are just waiting to exchange their views. But when you're communicating, there is intention, there is emotion. So when you're going to listen to somebody, you must give them 100% of your attention. The truth is, when you're not giving people 100% of your attention, they know. And the moment they notice that, they feel disregarded, and it makes them to withdraw, and this affects the communication. Also, you must maintain eye contact. When you're talking to someone, you can't be looking away or looking downwards. Not necessarily looking into the eyes all the time, because it may make the other person uncomfortable, but at least look straight. You could be looking at their forehead. You could be looking at their shoulders. This is very important, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And one way you can show that you care is by listening. Listening with rapt attention. Listening, and you also need to suspend your thoughts while you're listening. Pay rapt attention to what the person is saying. Try to understand what exactly you're trying to communicate, so that will determine what you will say to them eventually. This is very critical in communication, and you will agree with me that communication is the bedrock of building any relationship. And one critical element in effective communication is listening. So, if we build connection, if we grow our relationship, especially in these times, if we balance our life and our business, the ability to listen is very, very crucial. We must listen to one another with the intention to understand. We must listen with our emotions involved. You should not interrupt someone who is speaking. This is very important, because when you interrupt people, they feel disrespected. So if we're going to have good relationship, productive relationship, when someone is listening, is speaking, you allow them speak. When they are done speaking and they've taken a break, you ask them a question. Can I speak now? And then you can go ahead and share your own thoughts. Because what happens is this. In the process of listening to them, you have gain information from what they are saying that will help you to know exactly what to say to them. And this is how you build rapport. This is how you build connection. Because when people feel like they are understood, they are more open and cooperative. I'm sure you want a cooperative relationship, whether it is on the workspace or in the family. And if you want that to happen, then you need to listen to people when they are speaking. The last thing I want to talk about within the time that I have is that we should practice empathy. We should practice empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is simply the ability to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You see, we live in a world today where everyone is selfish. Maybe not everyone. I hope not you. But most people think of themselves alone, not necessarily caring about the other person. But if we're going to build relationships that will last, then we must begin to learn to put others in our thoughts. When we want to make our decisions, we need to ask ourselves, how is this decision going to affect the other person around me? We shouldn't make decisions based on how we feel or what we think. We should learn to put ourselves in other people's shoes so that we will know how best to relate with them. So there are certain questions we should ask when interacting with other people. One of it is, what is this person feeling right now? When you and anybody are having an exchange, you need to ask yourself that question. What is this person feeling? What emotion are they experiencing? When you're able to ask this question, it makes you curious, it makes you observant, and then it helps you to connect with the person. Another question you need to ask is, what does this person want from this interaction? Because in every engagement, everybody wants something. Somebody, they want something from you. They want to be understood, or they want to learn something, or they want you to learn something about them. So you need to ask yourself, what does this person want from this conversation? You see, when you ask yourself this question, it helps you to guide how you interact, what you say, what you don't say. Because most communication is actually not verbal. So you need to learn to listen to what the other person is not saying. And one way to achieve that is through empathy. When someone is saying something, you need to understand that what is the message behind the words? What is this person feeling? What does this person want? When you ask this question, then it helps you to relate better. These are some of the ways that we can leverage the power of emotions to connect with people. Because every human being is an embodiment of emotions. And if you want to get anyone to work cooperatively with you, to connect with you, then you should pay attention to their emotions. You can do this through being aware of your own emotions so that when you are engaging people, you are in the right frame of mind. You can also do this through active listening, like I explained earlier. Listening to people with 100% of your attention, listening to them without interrupting them, listening to them, looking into their faces, and not looking to the ground or looking elsewhere. And then finally, leveraging empathy to connect with people. Empathy is a very powerful tool for connection. You see, when you try to feel what the other person is feeling, then you won't say the first thing that comes to your mind. You would process your thoughts and you would desire to say things that will help, the other person. And sometimes you need to ask yourself, what does this person need? And how can I help this person feel better? That is what empathy is all about. These are some of the ways that we can leverage emotional intelligence to build our relationship, to grow connection with one another. So as you go into the remaining part of this year, I want you to be conscious of how you're relating with people. From what angle are you relating? And it is powerful when you relate to people from the angle of emotional intelligence. I hope I've been able to be of help to you. I'm going to stop here for today. My name is John Asiegbu. I am Africa's leading emotional intelligence expert. If you would like to connect with me, I'm on Facebook. The name is John Asiegbu on Facebook. My website is www.johnasiegbu.com. Also, I'm on Instagram as @JohnAsiegbu. I look forward to hearing from you soon. But more importantly, I hope you put everything that you have learned to practice. And as you do this, I believe that your relationships will get much better. Until I hear from you again, bye.